In this video, we're going to talk about how to attach some web map server imagery, and then after that, take that imagery that gets put into Microstation and clip it out and make a separate image of just the area that you need for your project. The first thing that you need to do, though, before you try to attach that web map server imagery is you need to make sure that you have a coordinate system applied to the file. Because if you don't, whenever you try to bring in that imagery, it's not going to put it in the correct location. So I'm going to go to my main toolbar here, and I'm going to select the geographic coordinate system just to see if I have one attached, which I do. So we're good to go there, as long as you got the correct one attached, of course. Now if we go up to our Raster Manager by either going to the File pull down and going to the Raster Manager, or you could also click on this icon right here. It brings up the same dialog. And we're going to go ahead and click on the File pull down, and we're going to do an attach, but instead of raster we're going to attach the WMS. If you did have other imagery that was out there that you maybe downloaded from Google Earth and so forth, you can do that, but whenever you do that, you may have to do some manipulations with that imagery, scale it, warp it to get it to fit the way you want it. The good thing about this WMS imagery is it actually gets pulled from a server from MISDIS, and whenever it does that, all that imagery is geo-referenced. So as long as you got the correct coordinate system applied to the file and you attach this imagery correctly, everything should line up pretty good. So we'll go ahead and click on the one that says WMS, and to get to those particular links we need to cancel out to where it's looking outside of ProjectWise, because that's where they're stored at. So we'll do a cancel, and the location that we want to go to is underneath the T drive. So we'll go to the T drive, MoDOT workspace, geographic coordinate system, and underneath there you're going to see many different links that you can attach. You got some 2010, 2012, 2014, and some other ones down below here. So you need to select the correct ones so it attaches it properly. And since I know this particular project here is in the central zone, I'm going to go ahead and select this one that says 2014 Missouri Central Zone. And if you look in your preview, this is the area of the state that it's going to bring in. So we'll go ahead and select that. We'll go ahead and click on Open. You shouldn't have to do anything inside this dialog box here. So we'll just go ahead and click on Attach and give it some time, and eventually you should see that imagery show up on the screen. And now you'll see it here. So if you zoom in, it will take a little bit for it to refresh, because like I said, that imagery is being pulled from a different location. So it takes a little bit for it to refresh, and then you'll see that imagery and how it lays in there properly. It looks like this one here fits in pretty good. Now, the only downfall with this WMS imagery as of right now is it is kind of pixelated. Basically, it's a free source. It is geo-referenced, which is really good, but most of the imagery that you get is either in 2 or 3 foot pixels. So if you start zooming in fairly close, it's going to get pixelated fairly quick. So if you got a large project, it probably works pretty good, but if you're getting into tight quarters, it may look kind of distorted. There is one exception to that, and that's in the St. Louis area. If you attach imagery from the St. Louis area, which I think it's, let me go back to the Raster Manager, and we'll attach the WMS, and we're not going to attach it, but I just want to show you this. I think it's the St. Louis. That one there is actually flown in 6-inch imagery. So that's pretty high quality. And if you have a St. Louis project, or if you're in the St. Louis area and you need to attach that imagery, that's the one that you would want to select. So it's a little bit really good resolution imagery. So we have this imagery attached, and that's basically all you need to do is to attach that web map server imagery. Now if we go ahead and do a fit view though, or if we zoom out some, I'll just zoom out a little bit and give it a little bit of time for it to refresh again. You'll see that it actually attaches that whole sector for the central zone for the state. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to come in here and actually make an image of just this area for the project limits that I have. So we'll go ahead and go back to the Raster Manager. And the tools that we need to use here, we actually have to use some Descartes tools to do this. So we're going to go ahead and load Descartes. To do that, we need to go underneath the Tools pull down, and we're going to go ahead and go to Product Add-ins, Activate Descartes. And you will get this alert box. Just go ahead and click on Yes to that. It loads Bentley Descartes. And now you should see some additional tools underneath your Raster Manager. Let's go ahead and go to the Edit pull down, and there should be a Merge option underneath there. So go ahead and select it. The first thing that you'll get is this Merge dialog. Here's where you define how you want this image to be created. You can either do it by a block, an orientated block. If you have an element out there, you can identify that element. You can create a shape, or you can do it from view. I'm just going to go ahead and create a block, so I'll just use this one right here. And I'll just define it from point A, drag it around to find my block, left click to point B. Then what you're going to go ahead and get is this Merge options, depending on how you want to create this image. First thing that I'm going to do is change this elements to process to rasters only. I don't want to do the vector geometry or the Microstation geometry because I don't want that particular geometry burnt into the image that I'm creating. So we'll just do rasters only. Next thing that we're going to go ahead and check is this set using, and we're just going to leave it set to pixel size and DPI. There's a bunch of other options underneath there, and you can look at those at your own leisure if you wish to do that. But from testing, this one here works pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is. In this imagery here, it's actually in 3-foot pixels. You could bump it down to 2 or 1 if you want to, but you're not going to get any better resolution if you bump it down if it's set at 3 from the beginning. So I'll just leave it set to 3. And then last but not least is your output options. There's a lot of different output options that you can go to. I'm just going to leave it to Internet TIFF. If you want to change it to some other format to do some testing, you can do that. But this one here seems to work all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is. Once we're done with that, go ahead and click on Run. Where do you want to store it at? I'll just go ahead and store it in ProjectWise. I'll do the No Wizard. This is the name. I'll just leave it as is. If you want to change it, you can go ahead and do that. Click on Save. And give it a little bit of time, and it'll go through here and actually create that image. Now if we go back to our Raster Manager, we should see that we have this right here, and also the image that we just created, which is this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the 2014 Missouri one, and now you'll see just the image that I created from this 2014 Web Map Server imagery. I can turn that back on if I need to, but if I don't need it anymore, just leave it toggled off. Or another thing that you could do is once you have that image created and you no longer need this one right here, just go ahead and detach it. You can right click over it, do a detach, and now you're good to go. So now you just have just that image of your project limits that you have there. So that's how to use the Web Map Server imagery and then also create an image from that Web Map Server imagery for your project that you have.